You can have America in name only. You can have a communist, demonic place that's still called America, the United States of America, which is no longer effectively the United States of America. But the United States of America, which the founders, brought into being, Washington and Lincoln and where we are now, it's an existential crisis. And in each case, we ought not, in the natural, to survive. We ought never to have come into being in the revolution. The odds were so stacked against us. Same thing about the Civil War, and the same thing about where we are now. So the question simply is, if you go back to George Washington, and this is the last chapter of the book Religionless Christianity, I say, if you go to ask George Washington in 1776, how is it going? How do you think it's going? He would inescapably say, it's going very poorly. We are on the path to lose. But if Providence be with us in this cause of liberty, we may prevail. So we fight on. We are in a war. In a war, there will be casualties, there will be sacrifices. But if you're fighting for the right thing, you may have the victory. If you don't fight because it's looking real bad, so let's leave, let's stop, you will certainly not prevail. So Washington fought on because he believed it was the right thing. And to some extent, in the Revolution, in the Civil War, and now, apart from God's intervention, miraculous intervention, we lose. We don't win. But there was miraculous intervention. In my book, If You Can Keep It, I talk about the miracle of the Battle of Brooklyn. I mean miracle. We ought not to have survived. The cause of liberty ought to have been strangled in the cradle. But God gave us a miraculous victory right here in New York, very close to where we are now. And Washington fought on and fought on and fought on, and somehow, by the grace of God, absolutely, America came into being. The same thing happened in the Civil War. Michael Medved's brilliant books, I interviewed him at Socrates and City. He talks about that. Where we are now is the same case. Like, you could say, well, things are looking very bad. Right. But if it's the Lord's will that this experiment in ordered liberty continue on, we have to fight and fight and fight and pray and trust God, do what he calls us to do, sacrifice, be willing to take hits, casualties, whatever that looks like. This is not easy, but you fight because it's the right thing, because there's something beautiful and noble and true that you're fighting for against wickedness. And therefore, that's my long way of saying I am ultimately optimistic if the people of God will rise up and actually be the church, put away their childish theological fussiness, and actually be the church, put their faith into action now, not in 3 years, now. Enough horrors have arisen to wake people up, to make people understand, okay, I finally get it. We're going to lose everything. We're going to descend into Marxist tyranny if we do not act politically and in every other way. If we don't do that, if we just play church, we're going to get what we deserve. We're going to get what the Germans got because they said, no, thank you, we just want to do church. So ultimately, I'm optimistic. I see people waking up every day. Everywhere I go, I'm speaking about this. The hour could not be more late. And if you're not part of the solution, you are unavoidably part of the problem, and you'll live with that shame for the rest of your life. And so this is a warning, but it's also a call to action. Join what God has called you to join. He's called you to be a force for good. He's not going to force you, but he invites you. He created you for this. And so ultimately, I say this is the hour of the American church. If the American church will rise up and be the church in the way that the German church failed to be the church, we will lead America through this existential crisis to what I think Lincoln was speaking about prophetically when he talked about a new birth of freedom, and what Bonhoeffer was speaking about prophetically when he said religionless Christianity, to something beautiful that we haven't imagined, to something on the other side of this Reformation that I think we're experiencing right now. So ultimately, I'm hopeful, but I'm not cavalierly hopeful. We have to really fight and pray. Otherwise, we will not prevail.
This book, and I do think you can see the hand of God in military history very easily, and I consider myself one of those, and I think my friends would verify that. And so I just want you to know it's been an honor and a privilege to spend this time with you, and I will never forget it. I hope we meet again. I hope I can get you to come south and teach you some Confederate-oriented military history. I'm glad we lost the war, but it was a damn close and fought to the bitter end. And I think that many of the thoughtful Confederates believed God's hand was in that, actually. And so they accepted it and moved on. But anyway, thank you for this time. It's been just terrific. And anything I can do to help you, let me know.
Well,
okay?
Look, this has been an honor to be here. Thank you. And I expect we will meet again and do more for God's purposes. So thank you very much.
Exactly. To the glory of God.
Amen.
That's the way I look at it. Thank you.